Hey friends! Welcome back to another video, and we're starting a new series today called LGBTQ Plus 101. Yeah, okay. If you've never visited this channel before, hi! My name's River Kai, and if you're watching this and you would like to become part of our weird fam, that makes you a weirdo, because I'm a weirdo, and that's basically all you need to know. So, this series is about identities that fall under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. You'll hear me say umbrella term a lot, okay? We'll get into that. But basically anything that is not heterosexuality or cisgender, which means like the gender you were assigned at birth, then you fall under the LGBTQ plus umbrella of identities. A few people have mentioned this to me and thought that my channel would be suitable for some type of 101 class. I asked on Instagram this week if there's anything that you could ask and you've been too afraid to ask or embarrassed to ask about LGBTQ plus identities, like what is it? So if your question doesn't get answered, I might get to it eventually, but today we're covering a lovely topic. It's a sexuality. This sexuality is called asexuality. Yay! I'll be making a lot of rainbows with my hands to present the terms. First of all, if you're not sure what a sexuality is, we're gonna get real definition-y up in here, so just get used to it. Sexuality is a sexual identity. It usually has to do with what genders you're attracted or not attracted to, and it is an entire spectrum. There's sexual attraction and romantic attraction. I personally think it can also be divided in like mental, emotional, and physical. I think that's really important for asexuality, which is why I brought it up. Sexual attraction is when you feel attracted to a person sexually, as in you would want to do sexual things with them potentially. Romantic attraction is you have attraction to someone and you would like to do romantic things with that person. So that could involve physical aspects, but not sexual aspects. It also could just be that you admire the person and love and adore them in a way that's different than a friend, or you get the point. Anything that's not sexual in romantic. We can kind of already like separate those terms out in our head, so it's not as confusing as it sounds. The reason why this is helpful is because with asexuality, that means that a person does not have sexual attraction towards anyone else, potentially. But a lot of confused questions I received were about this because your body naturally has sexual arousal. So that is way different. This has nothing to do with attraction or not. But the body, obviously as a species, we reproduce. So it's natural for us to have arousal. But if someone's asexual and they're aroused, it doesn't mean that they're like a fake asexual. If someone doesn't have sexual attraction, then they can fall under the asexual. Wait, if you're superstitious, look away. Hold on. Your identity may fall underneath the asexual umbrella. And this is why it gets confusing for some people, because you might have heard of gray romantic, gray sexual, asexual, aromantic, demisexual, demi-romantic. These are all examples of things that fall under the asexual umbrella term. Because asexuality is an umbrella term. It covers multiple aspects, because if there's, let's say you're over here and this is demisexual. Demisexual people may have sexual attraction, but it's either with very few people, or you'd have to get really close and intimate with the person in order to feel attracted to them. That's basically what that means. But if you just want to identify as asexual, which would probably be up here, then you could do that too, and you would still be demisexual. It's really up to you. Labels are helpful tools, basically, to understand ourselves but they're not necessary, and they're easier to explain because we have the human body and the human psyche, and our emotions and everything are very complex. So labels are useful in finding out, like, hey, do I fit in with any type of humans? Like, that's a very common fear, that you basically are just okay, you're left out in the rain without an umbrella. Everyone else has their own sexual identity umbrella, and you are umbrella-less, basically. So labels give you an umbrella. Does that make sense? You don't need an umbrella. You can walk out in the rain, but a lot of people feel more comfortable with it. Okay, let's put the umbrella away and stop disturbing everyone who's superstitious. Okay, I'm gonna make sure to give very clear definitions on this. Let's go back over that again. Asexuality is a spectrum, which is why I like to call it an umbrella term. It's similar to like transgender, where there's multiple different gender identities that don't match with whatever you were assigned with at birth. And that could be a range of identities, and it's not necessarily on a scale from one end to the other. It's more of a spectrum, like a rainbow. And asexuality is the same, because with demisexual, you could still have sexual attraction, but not necessarily with as many people. Like, a lot of people are attracted to many people of a certain gender or multiple genders, and they don't really think about that, like struggling to have sexual attraction. But asexual people might feel confused when trying to figure out their identity because they might not have that there, or demisexual people might feel confused because they have sexual attraction with maybe one person in their entire life, but otherwise they feel like maybe averted, or just like nothing's there really. Like, they don't see people and think like, oh. When someone says aromantic or demi-romantic, it's the same definition, but replace the word sexual with romantic. So aromantic would be that someone doesn't experience romantic attraction towards people. Demi-romantic might mean that someone doesn't experience romantic attraction except in very rare cases. So that's why it's beneath the umbrella, because it is a type of asexuality. Because asexuality is an umbrella term, it might be confusing when you hear that there's multiple different identities underneath that umbrella, but it's just a way to describe different levels of attraction, basically. And the reason why we break down our language this way is because our brain categorizes things into separate boxes. Like, that is how the human brain usually works, where we have different boxes for different things. So it's much easier for us to have an umbrella term and then separate out the little details beneath that, but it's still within the asexual box. Because to us, the whole vibe around feeling asexual is limited or none in terms of sexual attraction. If anything falls into that box, it's going to be thrown into the asexual box in our mind. That's why it's easier to conceptualize in that way. I think it gets confusing when you go from the bottom up instead of just looking at the box and then the separate identities underneath it, or the umbrella and the separate identities underneath it, because our brain doesn't work from that. We don't throw our brain boxes all over the floor and scatter all the pieces everywhere in separate areas of our brain. It's contained in different boxes. I hope that makes sense, because that's some really like broken down psychology. But let's go over some common misconceptions. So we talked about how sexual arousal is different than sexual attraction, and I think that is the main misconception or misunderstanding about the identity, because sexual arousal is more of a physical thing, and someone might feel like they're fine with doing things by themselves, but they're not into doing it with another person. and that's still like in the asexual umbrella. And so another thing that I've heard there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about is that people who identify as asexual might still do sexual things in order to please their partner. Like if their partner has another identity, then maybe they just want to do that for them consensually, hopefully. If they were to be sexually aroused, it has nothing to do with their identity because attraction is different than physical arousal. I think a common misconception is that that's always due to trauma or something, like being asexual is always due to trauma. And while that is the case for a portion of people out there in the world, I think that it's normal because like people have different ranges of emotional and mental and physical attraction. We are such a diverse group of humans, which is why I really enjoy learning about identities, because if we all look different on the outside, like that is like undeniable proof we all look way different from one another, then why wouldn't we experience things differently on the inside? Like, hello, of course we're gonna have different identities. So yes, things can happen to us, like using our physical appearance as an example. Like if I got a cut on my hand and it left a scar, then yeah, I could change how my hand like visually looks. So it makes sense that someone could feel like their sexual identity has reverted to asexuality if they've had some sort of trauma in their life. But that's not the case with everyone. It's perfectly fine and normal, quote unquote, to have an identity in the asexual umbrella. Okay, as a quick recap, end of everything, let's go through our definition super fast. It goes down like this. We're gonna start from the brain box of sexuality and go out from there. So sexuality usually has to do with what genders you're attracted or not attracted to, and it is an entire spectrum. This is sexual attraction and this is romantic attraction. Romantic attraction can be considered separate from sexuality because it has nothing to do with sexual things, but it's related because sexuality usually has to do with attraction. So it's more of like a little branch coming out, and then this is like the box. Okay, romantic attraction is in your heart and your head. Sexual attraction is what you do in the bed. There you go. And that was like a spin-off of what I heard my friend say. So thank you, Sebastian. Anyway, so our video today was about asexuality, which falls under the little sexual attraction umbrella. And asexuality has its own little umbrella. Asexuality is limited to no sexual attraction. Aromantic is limited or no romantic attraction. And then demisexual, something we mentioned today, which means limited or like conditional sexual attraction. So the conditions usually have to do with like how close you are with the person, or just for whatever reason your body and your mind is not attracted to most people except for the very, very, very few. I hope that answered some of your questions. This is just an LGBT 101. We got into kind of like a 102 here, but I wanted to make sure to clear it up because like I said, everybody asked me about asexuality for like, it must be asexuality definition week. So I'm planning on doing more of this series about different identities. So if you have a question about an LGBTQ plus identity that you have been either afraid to ask, or you feel like you've asked too many times, or you still don't understand something after looking it up, then ask in the comments below, or you can DM me on Instagram and I will write it down on my list, and hopefully we'll cover one of those identities that you have a question about in the future. Let me know what you think down below. I've been hesitant to do this video in the past because I don't want to be seen as like people's Google source. You know, like I don't want people only to come talk to me to ask me about things that they can easily Google, but I just feel like I would like to help out by explaining things to people because obviously people have a lot of questions even if they're in the community. So I hope you're having a great day. And like I said, we all look different on the outside. Of course, we're going to have different identities on the inside. everything you're feeling is probably relatable to another person on the planet in some shape or form. You're not alone. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.